Welcome to Saturday Roundup. The week Zimbabwe made global and interesting headlines again. We've got kings who aren't kings, activists caught in immigration webs and extradition. We've got protesters that are still in jail and a mystery patient airlifted like a VIP. I'm Maynard and let's get into it. First up, Willington Masiwa, better known as Nyoka Yamabunu, is a guy that runs a WhatsApp channel, but now he's wanted internationally. This week, as he appeared at the Randburg Magistrates Court, he was served with an international arrest warrant in South Africa. The charge on that warrant is fraud. But hang on a second, just wait, there's more. Zimbabwe says Nyoka Yamabunu was born in 1977. His ID in court says he was born in 1987. That's a whole 10-year age gap. And let's be honest, that's an entirely different youth. Now, the Zimbabwean embassy claims his ID and birth certificates are fake. But here's the twist. His lawyers, they say this isn't about fraud, it's about politics. Masiwa ran an anti-Mnangagwa WhatsApp group from SA, responsible for coordinating some protests and sharing extremely anti-government sentiments. Since his arrest in South Africa, the groups have now been hacked and now are allegedly distributing adult content material. Coincidence? Who knows? Let's ask this. If someone is arrested for immigration, how does it become a political vendetta? And why does a fraud convict suddenly become an adult content distributor overnight? The court postponed the matter to 9 May. We'll be watching this one closely. But one thing's clear in Zimbabwean politics: even exile doesn't guarantee you safety. And next, an attempted character assassination that reads like a rejected Netflix script. Hopewell Chin'ono, an investigative journalist, he claims that Zimbabwe's government offered South African influencers cash to smear war veteran Blessed Gaza, commonly known as Bombshell. What's the goal? Well, to trigger xenophobic anger in South Africa and anti-immigrant sentiment and use that to flush Gaza out. But apparently, South African influencers, they said no thanks. Some, they even returned the money. But there's a plot twist. Just days after Hopo reported that story, gossip blogger Musa Kawula tweeted that Gaza was wanted for assaulting teen girls. It was word for word the same smear story that Hopewell says South African influencers were offered and they rejected. So who's writing these scripts and who's really behind the camera? The government denies involvement, but the coordination, it's a little bit uncanny. It raises this question: if a lie is caught before it spreads, is it still harmless? And more importantly, what happens when people refuse to be part of the propaganda machine? And what about Gaza himself? Is he insulating himself from this because it looks like they're out to soil him and flush him out? Now let's go to Bulawayo. I got it right this time, where history and politics are wrestling again. Bulawayo Mayor David Coulthard met with Bulani Lobengula Khumalo, the man many Ndebele people consider their king. The government, they're not amused. Local government minister Daniel Garwe fired off a furious 2-page letter. He called Bulelani a charlatan, a word usually reserved for prophets, and he called Coulthard's actions to meet him criminal. He wants an explanation in 7 days about how Coulthard met this guy and why he was paraded as king. Now, Bulelani was crowned by traditional leaders in 2018. His lineage, they say he's a direct descendant of King Lobengula. His place of birth, South Africa. The Matabeleland group Ep5 Zulu came to his defense. They say this isn't politics, it's cultural identity, and you don't cancel history because it's inconvenient. So what's at stake here? A mayor caught between history and Harare, a people fighting to reclaim their past and their identity, and a government clinging to the constitution like it's the final word. But isn't a constitution supposed to serve the people, not silence culture? Is this really about the king or it's about control? What's really happening here? What do you think? Tell us in the comments. Now, picture this. A man falls seriously ill in Bulawayo. He needs urgent care, but he supposedly can't get it. So he's put in an ambulance and rushed 280 kilometers away to Beitbridge. Then he's airlifted by helicopter into South Africa. He's welcomed by the Limpopo Premier, Dr. Poppy Ramathuba herself. You remember, she's the same one that went viral when she was in MEC for scolding a Zimbabwean patient who was admitted at a South African hospital. The particular patient that was airlifted, he's unnamed and he's unknown. But apparently, he's very special because social media is asking, who is this guy that had to be airlifted back to South Africa? Meanwhile, Zimbabwe's healthcare crisis, it rolls on. Hospitals are underfunded, equipment is outdated, doctors are gone, and even the president goes abroad for treatment. So here is the big question. When an ambulance becomes a private jet for the sick, who is really dying? The patient or the system? And will this incident spark some change, something, or just more silence? Finally, the 98 protesters arrested on March 31, the majority of them, they are still in jail. This week, the High Court was meant to hear their bail appeal. Instead, it was postponed again. Why? Well, the prosecutors weren't ready. Still, one judge managed to grant bail to just one man, Munyaradzi Majiriri, if I recall that name correctly. 3 women got bail last week, but that's still leaves about 94 people in prison. The protesters were arrested at Freedom Square. Imagine the irony, because freedom really hasn't shown up in this case. The state says these protesters planned to storm the State House and to overthrow Mnangagwa. The protesters say, we just want a better country. So let's pause and reflect. If justice moves this slow for people in the public eye, what happens to the invisible ones? And if protest is labeled a threat to the state, what's left of democracy? So that's your Saturday Roundup. We've got arrest warrants chasing activists, kings fighting for recognition, a health system that needs airlifting itself, and a justice system that is allergic to the principle of urgency. It's all just chaotic. It's complex, but it's also the story of Zimbabwe, where every week reality, it feels like satire. Until next Saturday, keep asking the hard questions and don't let the headlines do all the thinking. I'm Maynard, and cheers.